Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Presented by your local Super Chevy dealers and Home Bank. Good for business, good for life. LSU football on the flagship home of the Tigers. Call 225-499-9898. It's Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Now, live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios, here's Charles Hannegriff and Richard Dixon.
Big plays rule the day for LSU as they finish the season on a high note with a 37-17 win over Oklahoma. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Eagle 98.1 Game Day. I'm Charles Hannegriff along with Richard Dixon. The first ever meeting in the regular season between these two teams finished up a regular season that neither one of these teams was particularly fond of the way the entire season had gone. Both teams started the season in the top 20, but fell well short of their goals of the college football playoffs. Nevertheless, you got the best effort, I thought, from both of those teams tonight. And on a really positive note, besides the fact that LSU won the game, we saw some things that we haven't seen before this year. So after each team punted on their first possession, the Tigers took the lead on a 53-yard drive that had Nussmeier hitting Kyron Lacey to give LSU the lead. LSU would get the ball back quickly, but deep in their own territory, and that was when Nussmeier was sacked, fumbled. It was returned for a touchdown, and Oklahoma had tied the score. The next sequence was the one that could have swung the game in Oklahoma's favor. Nussmeier was sacked by R. Mason Thomas on a play that honestly, never seen Will Campbell get beat on a play like that. Thomas is an exceptional player. So is Campbell, but Thomas got the best of him. Landed on Nussmeier, and he had to leave the game. And, Richard, I don't know what you were thinking, but I know what I was thinking was he's not coming back into this game.
No doubt. I mean, when you see a fall like that and the way it was, I mean, it's the picture perfect to where he did something to his shoulder, and you didn't see him coming back.
After that, A.J. Swan had to come into the game. The Tigers would get a field goal on the next drive. It was mostly the drive was sparked by a 50-yard run by Caden Durham. Then Oklahoma had probably their best offensive sequence of the night. The one time they were able to get behind the LSU secondary, they hit J.J. Hester for 50, and then Arnold for the one time of the night that he broke a long run, 28 yards, to get him down in position to punch it in. And about midway through the second quarter, Oklahoma's up 14-10, and you really don't feel that they've done anything that would have them in control of this game, but they had the lead. Nussmeier's in the locker room, and at that point you're like, uh-oh, this is not exactly going according to script here.
No, I mean, that was the worst feeling is, you know, you come out and you score on your second drive. Then you have the strip sack fumble. Then they have the deep play. And you're sitting there thinking, you know, Nussmeier's out. You know, when you're coming back, they've already done two things that have hurt you, deep passes and QB run. So at that point, you're like, here we go again.
The feeling of nervousness didn't last long, though, just till the next kickoff when we saw the first of some things that we haven't seen so far this year. Xavier Thomas has had a very good year returning kicks, but he had a concussion or a head injury in this game. And Aaron Anderson went back to return the ensuing kickoff. He took it back 100 yards for a touchdown, and we've been waiting for, you know, a kickoff return, a special teams play. Frankly, at times the special teams has been a little bit shaky. Well, now you get a play that swings it in your direction. 100 yards, LSU takes the lead right back and swung the momentum of the game right back in that direction because probably in real time, Richard, maybe 5 minutes or less after that, Nussmeier comes back out of the locker room, and it looks like, oh, whew, okay, everything's all right.
Well, to me, that was the biggest deal. Is not only did you get, you know, reprieve with him scoring the touchdown on the special teams play, but it put the defense back on the field. It allowed more time for whatever they're going to do with Nussmeier in the locker room, give more time to get ready and get back out there and get back on the field.
Oklahoma would get a field goal. The tie score at 17. Nussmeier came back in to run a 2-minute just right before the 2-minute warning. And he threw a ball down the field 40 yards to Chris Hilton that found its mark. And the Tigers, with 45 seconds to go in the first half, took a 24-17 lead. So this is the second thing that we've been waiting all season for. LSU has lacked a deep threat. We've said it 11 times out of 11 postgame shows. When Hilton came back, they started trying to kind of force the ball in his direction. We saw the ugly little exchange at Florida. We've seen him mistimed some jumps. It just hasn't worked.
But let's talk about that because there was a lot of run on the conversation that Brian Kelly and him had on the sideline, and I understand. I talked about it on one of our shows about problems I had as a freshman. That's a coachable moment because in his 2 touchdowns today, you didn't see him leave his feet. He ran through the play. It's something that
he jumped a little bit on the first one.
Yeah, but he ran through it.
Yeah.
He didn't leave his feet to go up and above.
Yeah.
He used his speed. He didn't stop.
Yeah.
He ran through the play. And that's one thing that, a lot of you see it a lot with young receivers. And when I talk about Chris Hilton, he's an older guy, but he's missed a lot of football over this year.
Yeah.
And it's a timing deal. To see him finish that way after, getting his butt jumped about it and then doing it the right way was a big deal to me.
Tigers took a 24-17 lead to the locker room, and in the second half, the defense pitched a shutout. The only real spark that Oklahoma, I thought, got in the second half was on the opening drive. They had a 3rd down and 9. They had Arnold dead to rights. He got out of it and ran
crap.
And ran up for a first down, but they got him off the field immediately after that. Then LSU converted a 3rd down on a little swing, a little spot pass to Durham. And then on 3rd down and 5, we saw something else we haven't seen very much this year, which is Garrett Nussmeier, hurt shoulder and all, run for a first down on a 3rd down and 5 where, I'm sorry, he just hasn't done very much of that, and we've, asked for it. And, well, it wasn't the only time he did that tonight, but on that 3rd down and 5, he came up, got the first down, and then another bomb to Hilton just to prove that the first one wasn't a fluke. So you do, again, the things that you haven't done this year. You haven't seen Nussmeier run very much. You haven't seen them connect with Hilton or really anybody on the very deep balls, okay? There's plenty of stuff in the intermediate range, but the very deep balls. So they come back there. That puts them up 31-17 midway through the 3rd quarter, and they were in control at that point.
No, I mean, you're talking about the things we've wanted to see. This is, it's the last game of the season, regular season, but to see those things that we've been wanting to see, scramble for a first down, hit the deep ball. I mean, it was very promising understanding that these things are starting to show up.
Down 2 touchdowns midway through the 3rd quarter. I thought Oklahoma got a decent little drive going the next time, and then I thought they sort of panicked. The double pass, certainly the receiver that threw the ball, Sharp, panicked there because he would have been well advised just to eat that football rather than throw it up for grabs. Sage Ryan got the interception, and LSU would take a drive through the ball. A tight end not named Mason Taylor, Kamarian Pimpton, with probably his biggest catch of the year down inside the 5-yard line.
It was a play off a bubble screen that we've been talking about. They released to go block. Everybody flew up. He released down the sideline. It was a great executed play.
And they would get a field goal out of that drive to put them up 34-17. And from that point, they were really able to tee off defensively. I thought the next drive for Oklahoma included a pair of LSU sacks. Dominic McKinley really starting to come on here at the end of his freshman season. They got another field goal late to make the final 37-17. There was one play that in late in the game where Weeks was whistled for a personal foul.
That's the one I was talking about.
It was a close call. It's kind of a ticky-tack call. But
I hate those calls. I texted an SEC referee in the middle of that, and I was like, that was chicken crap. I mean, like, you spend your whole week trying to get after the quarterback, and I'm not going to make a big deal out of it, but it was a late push. I don't like the call.
He's got to make it. I think it's the toughest call for an official to make.
It's the hardest thing for a defensive player to pull off because you want to get there. You're doing everything you can get there, and you just want to at least put your hands on him. And at the sideline, I get it. He didn't fall to the ground. I get it if he goes to the ground tumbling and falls. Yeah. He didn't go to the ground, but look, we won the game.
There's a trust issue there where you're running toward the quarterback. You're like, don't make me hit you. Go out of bounds, okay?
Well, you're talking about a split second where he could turn up and go up the field.
Exactly.
Or he can't. So you got to make that decision in your mind too. So you want to make sure he gets out of bounds. It's a tough call.
It is. I think, like I said, I think it's the toughest call in football. So LSU finishes the regular season at 8-4. We saw a lot of things that, again, we wanted to see. We saw Nussmeier not turn the ball over. We saw LSU establish enough of a running game to determine some balance there. We saw them hit a big special teams play. We saw them hit a couple of long bombs on the deep balls that really haven't been there. we saw them. Now, Jackson Arnold finished with 75 yards rushing on 75 carries, but I thought that save 2 or 3 of those 17 runs, and 4 of those were sacks, that they at least kept him in check enough. There were a couple that he got away. The first drive of the third quarter, he didn't kill him tonight with it. The way Milroe killed him, the way Marcel Reed killed him, he got his yards, but they were. I don't want to say they were not significant. They didn't hurt him.
There was only one that was misfit. The defense misfit the run.
Yeah.
And that was the very first when he broke for a long one on their scoring drive. Other than that, guys were in the right position. And
they were able to crowd up enough, dare him to throw the ball over their head. They did it the one time to J.J. Hester. Other than that, there wasn't much in way of the passing game for Oklahoma. They had 110 yards on the night. LSU ended up, getting the one interception. So all in all, a very nice effort for LSU against an Oklahoma team that really dominated defensively against Alabama last week.
You're coming off, the way that the worst LSU's been beat this year was by Alabama, and then your last 2 weeks you've beaten teams that beat Alabama. So it just shows you that you have what it takes. You just got to bring it every Saturday.
That'll be the frustrating epilogue to this season. Is you were and last season too. Last season you were right there to beat Ole Miss, which would have swung the whole season. This year you were right there to beat Texas A&M. You had the lead. You were right there with the lead in the fourth quarter against USC. You were right there in position to win in Gainesville, where lo and behold, all the doggone tiebreakers would have fallen your way. If you win in Gainesville, you're in Atlanta next week. Mm-hmm. You're right there, but it still seems like it's, kind of far away. Brian Kelly thinks that they're pretty close. He thinks that they are on the right track, and he's really excited about the future. Well, I'll say that he was.
Well, I'm proud of my team. Last 2 weeks, they listened to the narratives out there that they weren't excited to play for anything, that the season was over, and they simply went out and played inspired football the last 2 weeks. They put consistent performances together over the last 2 weeks, and really proud of their performance. They played well against Vanderbilt, and they played well against Oklahoma. Both those teams beat a team in Alabama that we lost to. So just really proud of our football team, proud of the way they prepared this week. And, they're 19. This team over 3 years is 19-2 at home. So, whatever camp you want to jump into, go right ahead. We had 5 freshmen and 2 sophomores on defense today, playing their tails off. So, again, we're taking receipts, and, we'll see you at the national championship.
Say that again. I love the confidence. Fantastic. I want a coach that wants to play in the national championship game. It's, the timing of it is, hey, listen, I'll tell you what I heard, okay, when I heard that. Maybe this is just me. Maybe I just want to be in a good mood. Maybe I just like to do this without, getting mad or whatever. I remember when Orgeron took that team up against Alabama, and they lost, but they were uber competitive. And Alabama had just been kind of mopping the floor with them for 2 or 3 years in a row. And he said, "We're coming. We're not backing down." And everybody kind of snickered a little bit at the time, like, okay, whatever. And, then you had the 19 season. For a coach to say that coming off of an 8-4, there's nothing wrong with 8-4. It's not terrible. It's, it's a B-, okay? It'll get you by, but it's not really what you wanted. He said, "No, we're going to go to the national championship game." Okay, boss, show me.
No,
they're great, but show me.
I love the attitude. Look, the only way I can put it into perspective is we had great offenses the last 2 years, and then you're seeing what this defense is doing. And when he mentions that we had 5 freshmen, 2 sophomores, and look how we're starting to play. Look at the guys that are on the field. Look at next year. These are going to be sophomores and juniors. Yeah. I see what he's saying, But I mean, to go out there and say we'll see you in the national championship, we're keeping receipts.
That's a lot. That's a lot. He also did mention in that press conference that they've got several players that have decided to come back. They just have to make announcements.
They haven't announced it. The other thing I want to say is he came out and said that we're hearing people saying they had nothing to play for. I haven't heard that. It was questioned. When we talked about like what's going to happen the next couple of weeks, we want to see if they have if they're going to come out and play. I don't remember hearing a lot of people saying that they have nothing to play for. These guys are done.
It's a reasonable question to ask, and if they take umbrage with that, fine. Okay, if I was on that team, I'd probably feel the same way. But we see college football teams, when it falls by the wayside, kind of mail it in. Okay, I give you Oklahoma State. I give you Florida State. Give me a second. I'll come up with some other examples of teams that just, hey, you know what, man, the hell, Purdue. Okay, it's an awful season. You mail it in. Once your goals are off the table, you kind of, man, we've seen that before from other teams. So it's not an unreasonable question.
But we didn't say that. We said we'll know what the culture of this team is. Yeah. According to the next couple of weeks.
And now we do. 499-9898 is the number to call on the LaBerge hotline. We want to hear from you. LSU wins at 37-17. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Eagle 98.1 Game Day continues. LSU wins at 37-17. 499-9898 is the number to call on the LaBerge hotline, and we open things up with Jules in New Mexico. Jules, welcome into the show.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Sure, good.
Look, three options. Nuss goes into the NFL draft, enters the transfer portal, or comes back to LSU. What do you guys betting your house on? Go Tigers, MAGA.
Rich, you want to go first?
He comes back to LSU.
Yeah.
I think that, with his dad being involved, they're talking about him as the fifth quarterback coming out this year, which a lot of times I would see you just going ahead and taking that shot. But, he's a kid that's grown up with an NFL dad, a guy that understands the situation. And you're talking about from a top 10 to a later round, you're talking about tens of millions of dollars. I think he's got it.
I think he's likely to come back. In his dad being the influence. Doug Nussmeier's probably more qualified to tell a college quarterback if he's ready for the NFL than just about anybody. Doug played in the NFL, and he played in the CFL. He's been a coordinator at the college level in the Southeastern Conference at Alabama, at Florida, in the Big Ten, at Michigan, at what was then the Pac-12, at Washington. He's been a quarterback coach with the St. Louis Rams when Mark Bulger, who was a Pro Bowler, was a quarterback. He's been a quarterback's coach with the now Los Angeles Chargers when Justin Herbert was there, who's also a Pro Bowl talent. This year he's with the Philadelphia Eagles as their quarterback coach with Jalen Hurts.
He's with the Cowboys with Dak.
He was with the Cowboys with Dak Prescott, okay? This guy has lived a football life, okay? He's my age, and he has seen everything you can see. And we know that he obviously has his son's best interest at heart, so you don't have to worry about an agent getting in his ear and filling him full of, false information. His dad's going to advise him. I think that Nussmeier wants to have the best chance to succeed when he gets to the league. This is not completely about draft position, because I'll tell you what I think would happen if he went into the draft. I think he would ascend, after they looked at this a little bit, higher than what maybe some people think. I thought in the middle of the season he was probably a late first-round pick. I thought he regressed a little bit. A&M game, Alabama game, they weren't good. Maybe slides a little bit back. But I think if you went and you looked at it, and you put all of the film on and you looked at his upside, I think Garrett Nussmeier would probably get into the back half of the first round. Yeah. That's just my guess. That's just my opinion. If I had to pick between him and Jalen Milroe at the pro level, I would take Nussmeier 11 times out of 10. Now, if I had to go win a college football game, I might take Milroe. In fact, I probably would, okay, just based on what he did against LSU, all right? But if I got to pick a pro quarterback to ascend, I would take Nussmeier. Now, I think you put another 12 to 14, 15 starts under his belt to next year, I think his chances of success increase exponentially. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think his dad knows that. I think he knows that. The one thing you would have to say is he will be coming back here behind what is probably going to be a completely rebuilt offensive line. All right. Are they going to get in a portal? Are they going to get some veteran offensive linemen? I certainly hope so. And then are you going to be able to bring the freshmen and the younger players that haven't played along to put together a line? That's concerning, and that's a legitimate, concern. I think he will be back, though.
My concern, I agree with everything you just said, but the only thing I think of is as his dad.
Yeah.
Going early is putting you in a bad situation. Does he worry about, hey, look, if you're looking at the last half of the first round, if you're looking at the bottom quarter of the first round, you're going to be in a better situation to prolong your career. Because you see a lot of guys go in the first half to bad teams, bad organizations.
Yeah.
So I see both sides of it.
And you're right.
I'll tell you,
that's the percentage play. But anybody can trade up. But anybody can trade up too. So you never really know.
My thing is whatever decision he makes is going to be a very educated decision because he's got his dad involved.
Right. And I agree with that. And they put the stat up on the screen tonight. The third best passing season in LSU history. I understand the game is different now. It's more pass oriented. But man, the jump that Burrow made, Daniels made, and that Nussmeier can make from year 4 to year 5, you're just set. Not only do you have a chance to increase your draft position, you got a chance to have such a better opportunity to succeed at the next level if you get this many more reps under your belt.
Well, it's all about reps. I mean, quarterback is all about seeing defenses in live action and making decisions and making those reads as fast as possible. The more reps you get, the better you are. When you just said that, he's looking at number 3. In the last 6 years, our top 3 passers came. That's pretty crazy as well.
499-9898 is the number. Craig is in New Iberia. Craig, welcome into the show.
Yeah, man, this has probably been one of the most, I guess, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type football seasons. I mean, it's not just LSU. I mean, it sucks we just barely missed out by one game. But, like I said, it's not just LSU. I mean, you look at, Georgia. Georgia beats Texas, look like world beaters. They escaped Georgia Tech last night, which Georgia Tech is a good team. I mean, Alabama has, a couple of losses. Ole Miss looked like they were going to cruise into the playoffs, and then they stumble against Florida. I mean, this is been a really crazy season without one real big, horse just running the show. That we're used to in the SEC having one or two just dominant teams. So, all the people that are just kind of down on LSU and say the Brian Kelly, they just need to look around and realize that it's not us. I mean, it's not just LSU this year. It's everybody. I mean, Texas, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss. I mean, that's all good football teams that are, only a few of them are going to make it in. I mean, one week they look like world beaters, and then the next week they get beat by somebody they had no business losing to. I mean, this is probably the biggest what-if season I've been, that I've seen is like, because what if LSU beats Florida? What if they don't have the meltdown against Texas A&M in the second half? I mean, I'm looking at making plans to go to Atlanta next week. So,
right.
and the team has played very well at times and has played very poorly at times. So I just wish we could have gotten it all together just one of those times, and we could have been in Atlanta. But like I said, it's everybody. It's every team across the board, up and down the SEC. I mean, we beat Vanderbilt handily. We beat Oklahoma handily. And both those teams beat a team that beat us like a drum in Tiger Stadium.
Sure did.
So,
thank you, Craig. I appreciate the call. Richard, if you had to, I asked this question a couple of times in the pregame. If your life was on the line, you had to pick one team to win a game, who would you pick?
Georgia.
And you feel good about it?
No. That's the only one I can come up with.
Probably the perfect year to start the 12-team playoff, because I think I could probably end up making a real good case for about 6 of them.
Yeah,
that if everything's right, that they stay healthy. I'd probably pick Georgia too.
Yeah.
But
they always seem to get up for the big game. But I say that they lost to Alabama, got down big. Everybody thought they would have destroyed Georgia Tech, ended up going to overtimes. It's just a weird year. And to me, this is the start of you're truly seeing the transfer portal, NIL, guys being able to move around. You don't have the depth you used to have. Guys are not waiting to start anymore. Guys are going somewhere for money to start at other places.
might have said Ohio State. And, hey, and by the way, Kelly has said they're going to be more aggressive in the transfer portal. That's wonderful, and I think they need to do it because I think they need some veteran linemen. Well, it does not guarantee you anything. Ole Miss and Ohio State have two of the larger payrolls, from the transfer portal from last year. Both of them, Ohio State's anyway, north of $20 million. Ole Miss, pretty significant too. And Ole Miss is not going to make the playoffs, and Ohio State's limping in. They got beat by Michigan today, who's not very good.
Well, it's a gamble. It goes back to what we said first, second week when Nick Saban said, I don't care if you got $20 million. You got to spend it on the right people.
That's exactly it. So you can go out and spend, but it does not guarantee you success. Let's see who's next. Jordan is in Marksville. Jordan, welcome into the show.
Yeah, I'm live.
Yeah, go ahead, Jordan.
What's up?
Hi.
Man, we got to talk about the concession stands. They are getting worse every year, and we just can't take it anymore. We're sitting on the east side. We're starving. They run out of beer. We got to go down 4 levels.
That's a problem.
Can't run
Who can we talk to? We're in Louisiana. We are in friggin' Cajun country. We want to eat. We want to drink. And we at Tiger Stadium, they could be making hand over fist.
Jordan, I'm gonna pass this along to the proper authorities. Okay.
Well, I can tell you what.
I promise you.
Get it where it needs to go, Gordy.
Okay.
We can't be like this next year. That's why we've done so bad.
You know she's drunk. She has to call me Gordy.
I'll tell you what my mom used to do. She always called it her fourth quarter drink. She would get a Listerine bottle that looked like the brown Listerine.
Right.
And she would put a little bit of whiskey in there. And when they checked it, like, oh, it's a Listerine. And she called it her fourth quarter drink so she didn't stress out and freak out when we were playing.
I think that's a pretty sound strategy.
Yeah.
I haven't sat in the stands in a long time, so I don't know. I will take Jordan's word for it. She certainly seems that she was.
Look, if people need more beer, get them more beer.
Yes.
I mean, this is what LSU is
You're
about.
costing yourself money.
That's all it is. Get them more beer.
Come on, Scotty Woodward. What are you doing? We need
spend an extra $10,000, get a few more cases in there, and load it up.
This is about turnover, man. You got to move the lines.
That 12-pack of beer you're selling for $12 a can, you're making plenty of money. Buy a few more.
Wait, where does the NIL money come from? It's out of the beer money. Come on, man.
Mockler, you listening?
Come on, Scotty Woodward. You gotta get going. 499-9898 is the number to call on the LeBear's hotline. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Eagle 98.1 Game Day continues. One score of note, game still going on. BYU leads Houston 21-10. If they win, puts Iowa State into the Big 12 championship game against Arizona State. So if you're still getting championship weekend sorted out, that's the one game that we're still watching as far as championship weekend. All right, 499-9898 is the number to call on the LeBear's hotline. Jimmy's in Gretna. Jimmy, welcome into the show.
Hey, buddy, I'm driving home. I think the previous call made a valid point because my buddy was in line, and it took my friend about over a quarter to get back to their seat. The food line took a very, very long time. I know halftime everybody shows up at the same time. They don't want to miss plays, but she's got a point, and it takes away from the crowd noise. Look, I hope Nussmeier comes back. I remember his daddy playing for the Saints. Actually, he was in a Mardi Gras parade. He threw me a cup. He had a short-lived career with the Saints, but smart guy. You know, the blueprint is what, Jaden Daniels, he played 2 years, right? And so did Joe. It would make sense. Nussmeier does this, comes back a second year and boosts his value. I don't see how he's. It's like the Trubisky effect. But when Trubisky got drafted by the Bears, he was a one-year starter. I mean, Nussmeier basically is a one-year starter plus a bowl game. But also, I think his stats are kind of elevated because John Emery got hurt, right? And when he got hurt, it kind of just. I'm not saying it threw out the run game, but. Anyway, look, congratulations, Southern Jaguars, winning the Bayou Classic. Coach O's rumored to take the Southern Miss job. Hey, more power to you, dude. They need the help. If he could turn that train wreck around, God bless the man. All right?
I hadn't heard that one. That'd be interesting if he did. This is the deal with Nussmeier. You look at the quarterbacks that have gone into the NFL that have done well. You said Daniels played 2 years. He played 2 years here. He played 3 at Arizona State. Daniels had over 50 starts. Jalen Hurts had over 40 starts. C.J. Daniels had, I want to say, 30-something starts. Caleb Williams, over 30 starts. Brock Purdy, 50 starts. I mean, we're talking about these young quarterbacks that had Trevor Lawrence. I know he struggled this year, but had, I want to say, right at 40 starts, okay? These are the guys that, and it's not foolproof, okay? Kenny Pickett started, I think, multiple years at Pitt, and that didn't work out. And Sam Darnold started from the time he was a freshman at USC, and it took him a couple of years to get right. But you give yourself such a better chance.
Well, it's everything you can learn as a quarterback that you can't learn in practice. I mean, you don't see things flying. You don't see bullets flying till it's game time. And these are when you understand what you're doing wrong and what you can do right and where you can make adjustments.
Coach O at Southern Miss?
I'd love it. I mean, look, he recruited the Gulf Coast a long time. I mean, he recruited me, my brother, been around there. I'd love to see Southern Miss do good.
Give him a jolt anyway.
Look, I'll tell you what, the last time Southern Miss was relevant was Todd Monken, which he was my coach here at LSU as a receiver coach. He's the Ravens offensive coordinator right now. When he was there, he did a great job. You get a good coach, great recruiting grounds.
Well, they were just such a solid program for so long. You know, Jeff Bauer was there forever, and they were a hard out. Okay,
there was a reason Mississippi State and Ole Miss didn't play him for a long time.
Yeah, you knew you were in for a full day if you played Southern Miss, and the program's just falling apart. 499-9898 is the number to call. Charlie's in Lafayette. Charlie, welcome into the show.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Good, Charlie.
Enjoyed listening to everybody. A couple of comments to make, because a lot of good points came up. I predict Georgia to win the national championship because one big reason, they're going to play the SEC title game in Atlanta, and if they get to the championship, they're going to play that in Atlanta too. And if they win, when they win next week, because they're going to win, they'll be in New Orleans. So there's a lot of things that be favorable draws and favorable locations would be for them. Secondly, there's a lot to be positive and happy about if you're an LSU fan, and I'm not just talking about football. I mean, they won that game against Vanderbilt last week. The next day, the men came back from 20 points down to beat Central Florida. The women come back way back and beat Washington, and then they came back and beat ranked North Carolina State, and then culminated this week today with an impressive win over OU with some momentum going into signing day Wednesday. So the last week, we've had some tough time, but the last week has been really good for LSU, and I think there's nothing but good things are going to happen. I think it'll just start with Wednesday. So I've enjoyed listening what y'all had to say. A lot of good points are brought up. Always good listening to y'all on the way home.
Thanks, Charlie. Appreciate it. I'm looking at the odds to win the national championship. I think these were updated earlier tonight. I can't tell you exactly what time. Oregon's still a favorite, but it's a very, very close, jumbled up. They're plus 350. Georgia, Ohio State, Texas, all plus 450. Essentially, you have four pretty close to co-favorites for the national title. Not going to surprise me if any of those teams. I know what Ohio State looked like today, but I know that they can be better than that. We saw them go to Eugene and almost beat Oregon, so I know that they're capable of that. Notre Dame, Penn State, Tennessee, Alabama, who may very well get in this damn playoff after all, okay, or the next four choices. And I could see no, I don't think Penn State can win 4 games in a row. I don't think Tennessee can win 4 games in a row. I think they can win a game. I don't think they could win 4 in a row. I don't think Notre Dame will either.
Who's Oregon's big wins? I know Boise State.
They beat Ohio State.
Close. They beat Ohio State.
Beat Ohio State. Okay. That's the big one on the block. Tell you what, SMU is the 9th choice. It'd be an interesting wild card to follow because I think they're going to beat Clemson next week, and Miami's out of the picture now. And since they changed quarterbacks, they're as dynamic as anybody on offense in the country.
Since you could pay for play, SMU's back in the picture. I mean, we talked about
coincidence. I think not. Carla's in Walker. Carla, welcome into the show.
Hey guys, how y'all?
Good, Carla.
Two questions, Hanny. After talking about whether Garrett would come back, and I think he will next year, then you brought up the point of the offensive line. Who is going to be here next year, and how weak is it going to be if we don't do good in the portal? And the second question, what bowl do you think we're going to?
Okay, let me take the offensive line question first. I think both of the tackles are going to go pro, and Frazier and Dellinger are out of eligibility. So I think you're going to bring back DJ Chester. Is he going to be a center next year? Will they move him to guard? I don't know. And Paul Mubenga, who got pretty significant playing time, and we showed it on the Handycast, Rich, with the film study, that he has improved.
Yeah.
Okay. The very beginning when he came in there, he was a mess. He's gotten better as the season has gone along. He's still got a ways to go, but he's improved. Tyree Adams has played a little bit, and the injury kind of hurt him. He got in there for one snap tonight.
You got Weston Davis, was a 5-star guy last year, coming in at left tackle. They got guys behind them, but it's unproven. We haven't seen these guys go out there and play a significant amount of snaps.
I think this is probably the most important position for them, assuming Nussmeier comes back, because if he doesn't, then they're going to go find a quarterback. But if he comes back, I think offensive line is the most important position to tackle in the portal, because even if all these 5-stars are great that they got sitting in the wings, almost none of them have played.
Yeah.
And I hate to go out there just completely green. I would love to see them get into the portal and get me 2 Power 4 conference starters. Give me a couple of kids, even if it's just for 1 year. If you got somebody that started, I don't know, 2 seasons at, I'm going to pick Kansas State, okay, Georgia Tech, Arizona State, just anybody. I'd rather not go down and take it out in one of the group of 5 leagues, but give me somebody that's played for a year or 2 as a starter at a big school and plug them in.
Yeah.
They don't have to be all conference guys. Just give me some solid players that have a lot of time under their belt. That's what I'm looking for.
Oh, yeah, because you get past that. I mean, you've heard Kelly come back and say C.J. Daniels is going to be here. Aaron Anderson is playing better. You're seeing Pimpton, made some big plays tonight. So what you're losing this year is probably a Mason Taylor, a Kyron Lacey. Outside of that, I mean, you got a lot of things coming back on the offense side of the ball.
And I'm just assuming that Emory Jones is going to go pro. That's the assumption that we've been under for a while. I do think his draft stock has dipped.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about that, okay, who goes first, Emory Jones or Garrett Nussmeier? Because those are the 2 guys we're talking about.
Both of those guys went in the draft, Nussmeier would go ahead of him.
That's where I'm at. So if we're talking about Nussmeier coming back, do you see somebody convey that to Emory Jones as well and say you could come back and be a top 15 tackle?
That's where he was at the beginning of the season, somewhere in the teens, and probably not now. Hasn't been the best season for him.
No.
So,
when we're talking about...
But you have top 15 potential is what you're saying.
And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. 499-9898. Oh, the bowl game. Okay, actually I did that. Let's see.
Music City?
That's a good guess. The Citrus Bowl gets the first pick after the playoffs. They're not going there. They're not going to send them back to Las Vegas. So that leaves you with Liberty. They're not going to send them back to the ReliaQuest. They're not going back to Tampa. So that leaves you with Liberty, Music City, Gator, and Texas. And I think they've kind of penciled in Texas A&M to the Texas Bowl. So that leaves you with Liberty, Music City, and Gator. Liberty's a decent guess. Friday, December the 27th at 6 o'clock, 2 days after Christmas. That would be fine against somebody out of the Big Ten. So Liberty, Music City. I'm sorry. That's the Liberty Bowls on Friday, December the 27th. The Music City's on Monday, December the 30th at 1:30. And the Gator is on Thursday, January 2nd at 6:30. Give me one of those 3 is my best
if we're doing
guess.
Post-Game, I want the 1:30 game.
That's the one I want too. If it's the Thursday night Gator Bowl and we're going to start on a weeknight Post-Game at 1 a.m., we may have to rethink that. 499-9898 is the number to call. We'll take a break. Come back with more of your calls. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Eagle 98.1 Game Day continues. LSU wins at 37-17. 499-9898 is the number to call. The Bearish Hotline. Drew is in Franklin. Drew, welcome into the show.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Good, Drew.
Just want to talk about, like I was gonna call later, like earlier in the season. I just wanted to see how the Tigers season planned out. Big win against Oklahoma tonight, but one was on my mind. It was from 2 weeks ago when Bryce Underwood decommitted from LSU. I'm still in high school, and I had a big opinion about it because I'm from a small town, and just seeing such a big recruit lose, how we lost a recruit from a money standpoint, it's hard for me to think about it because, like, I think about it as, people get opportunities left and right, people get offers and all kinds of stuff. But to just have that amount of money get thrown at a kid my age, it's hard for me to think about it because, like, everyone wants the opportunity to play college. Everyone wants the opportunity to just do what they love and continue it after high school. But for a school to just throw millions of dollars in front of a kid's face, and it's hard for someone to just deny that. It's hard for me to think what this organization, what the sport is going to lead to in the future, because if everyone just thinking is just straight money. No one's really going for development anymore. They just want the money. And, I might be wrong come the future, but right now, how we lost such a crucial recruit, he set the tone for our whole 2025 class.
Well, I hope that, and Drew, I appreciate the call. I hope that it doesn't set the tone for the rest of the class moving forward. They've been able to hold it together for the most part. It's not like, 6 or 8 kids followed him out the door. Underwood is a special case. He's at a place, he's 30 minutes from a place that just had their most success literally in 50 years of college football. And it looked like they were going back, closer to what they had been after this season. Now, they got the big win today, but they're nothing close to what they were last year. They just lost their coach, and he was a Michigan guy. They also happen to have 2 individuals, one of them in Larry Ellison, who's one of the richest people in the world, and another one in Dave Portnoy, who is
the biggest marketing internet mogul guy,
and also has his fair share of coin. Okay, he's not as rich as Ellison, but he's got plenty of scratch. So you put all those factors together, and you end up with an unprecedented offer in unprecedented times. We haven't had this system around long enough to see a lot of these things, come to $12 million. The 5-star quarterbacks work out probably 2/3 of the time, but a lot of these guys, they're not. Spencer Rattler's a great example. Spencer Rattler, I think, was the number 1 quarterback in the country the year he came out. Okay, he's hanging on an NFL roster as a 5th-round pick. Jackson Arnold, who we watched play tonight, okay, he's a 5-star guy, right? Look like an NFL quarterback to you?
I think it's more 50-50 than 2/3. I mean, when I came out, Mitch Mustang was the number 1 quarterback coming out.
Brock Berlin, who was here in Louisiana, was a huge recruit. You might be right, Richard. Ryan Perler, who you played with,
yeah. Okay?
Now, that was the off-the-field stuff. But, look, you think with $12 million he ain't going to attract some attention? I don't think anybody wants this situation to continue, including the schools that can afford it.
I made the
comment
don't want
this,
that I would have almost been just as frustrated if we ponied up to pay somebody $12 million, because talk about the pressure you put on a kid to start day one. And look, everybody, you're going to take the money. If I'm sitting here getting recruited and somebody doubles the offer I have somewhere, my dad's going to be in my ear, be like, hey, that's a lot of money.
$12 million is
it's unreal. I mean,
crazy money.
$1 million is crazy money to me, when I'm thinking about it. But when what I heard the offer we had out there was around 6, they go to 12. It's a no-brainer. But to commit that amount of money and resources into a kid that's played nothing other than high school football, he might be the next greatest thing. I don't know. But to give a kid that type of money that's unproven, that's a lot of pressure that I don't know a lot of kids can deal with.
I agree. Now, I don't think we're going to have to deal with these kind of offers for that much longer. I think the legislation will be in place probably 2 to 4 years from now. You will see the revenue sharing take effect next year, and I think that eventually you'll see this come under the umbrella that Ted Cruz. I'm not going to talk politics for very long here, but Ted Cruz is heading a committee up, the Republican senator from Texas, that is going to put a lot of this stuff on the table that most of the colleges have begged for, which is some kind of congressional intervention. And I think that will happen probably in, like I said, the next 2 to 4 years. I don't think that this is going to be the way that it goes from, forevermore. And I do think that we will get to a situation where the players are employees. But right now we're in that in-between period where there ain't no rules.
No, and from a former player's aspect, to me, I was all for players getting paid. I mean, I've been to the events where we were dressed up like, characters that sat down and they charged people to come in and talk to us and do interviews. Yeah. And I thought the guys that commanded that draw deserved to get paid for it. But it was all, to me, and most every guy that I know in the situation, it was about pay for your play on the field while you're in college. We never thought about becoming pay for your play to get to college. And that's the thing to me where it's got to get corrected.
499-9898 is the number to call on the Bears hotline. Oh, by the way, Drew, I know where Franklin is. Jules is in Abbeville. Jules, welcome into the show.
Yeah, but do you know where Abbeville is?
Yeah, I know exactly where Abbeville is. Played some football game there against the VC Eagles a few times in my life.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so while we're on the money thing, before I get to football, is it true that Oregon basketball team won $250,000 for beating Alabama in a Players Era tournament championship tonight?
I don't know if they got it for beating them as much as they got it for just playing in the tournament. I don't know if there was winner shares and loser share. I know everybody got paid something.
I thought I heard one of the announcers.
You may be right. You may be right, but they all got paid to go. So regardless of win or lose, they all got paid something. The winners may have gotten more. I didn't check the specs on that, but you might be right.
Okay. And then my next 2 points, right quick. Caden Durham needs to be more involved in the offense, I believe. And number 2, not that I'm a fan, but Oregon has to be the least talked about, most disrespected, lone, unbeaten number 1 team I've seen in my life. And I'm 69. I mean, I don't even know when they play half the time. But those are my comments if y'all care to, and I'll talk to y'all after the Stamp Act Bowl.
Thank you, Jules. Appreciate it. Take the Caden Durham apart because I know you're a fan.
No, I mean I
am too.
He's great. He needs to get more. I'm starting to watching his first half of the year and watching this back half of the year. That injury slowed him down. There's been a couple runs that he broke that I thought he had the speed earlier on to take it to the house. But when you go back and think about playing with a steel plate in your shoe, dislocating the 2 middle toes on your foot, it's obviously slowed him down a little bit.
Here's my deal on Oregon, who I think is worthy of the number 1 ranking. They've won all their games. They played a reasonable schedule. I mean, they did beat Ohio State. They did beat a ranked Illinois team fairly handily. Beat them by I think 30, and they won all their games. There's something to that.
It has been quiet. I get what he's saying.
I think what set the tone for the disrespect, to use his word, is the 37-34 win against Boise. Even though Boise's probably going to make the playoff, and even though Boise's got a really good team, they had to score kick a field goal in the last play of the game. They had 2 return touchdowns in that game. Boise could have easily beat them. You can even make a case that Boise should have beat them. And nobody is going to go over the moon, respecting them like the great teams of the Alabamas, Georgias, Miami Hurricanes, LSU's 19 team or anything like that if you beat Boise State by 3. And I say that with a great deal of respect for Boise State. The trivia question tonight.
The winningest team
since 1999. I knew that one. Yeah. Okay, you're gonna have to take my word for it. I got that one right. You. Okay, but a lot of those wins are against the Idahos of the world. Okay, so who cares? But every now and then they get a chance to play with the big boys, and a lot of times they've shook the hell out of those teams.
They beat Oklahoma in the bowl game.
That kind of launched everything. I can remember them dusting a really good Virginia Tech team in the season opener in Maryland one year. And or if Oregon's the number one team and they deserve to be, then Boise had every opportunity in the world to beat them back in week 2. So I think that's where a little bit of that comes from. And then you add in the fact they eked by Ohio State, it was a terrific team. They eked by Wisconsin 2 weeks ago, who's not anything special. So they're far from a perfect team.
It's a team that feel like people are waiting to lose.
But they got a perfect record.
Yeah.
Stephen is in Crowley. I think it's Stephen. Stephen is in Crowley. Stephen, welcome into the show.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, guys. I'm on I-10 westbound right now, and it's a parking lot. I'm cruising at a brisk 5 miles an hour right now. So, lovely. So we were talking about Bryce Underwood earlier, and I remember hearing Coach Kelly say, well, it does free up a lot of room for us to invest in players elsewhere. We've talked about the offensive line. That's our obvious area of need. If you're Brian Kelly, where else do you spend your money?
Defensive line.
Safety.
1 and 1A. Yeah. I'd rather hope that the safety replacements were on the current roster, but I guess not, huh?
I'm starting to like the young defensive tackles we got. We keep talking about defensive tackles. Bro's playing really well. McKinley got 2 sacks tonight.
Yeah.
Relaford's coming along. The D-line, to me, is young, but is showing a lot of promise. The linebackers, Deshaun Keyes playing really well. You got Weeks coming back.
I feel good about the linebackers.
I feel good.
I'm okay there.
Right now, I feel good about the front seven. I mean, the question is Ashton Stamps going to take the next level? Because you got 14, he's gone. He's out of eligibility. Do you need another corner? Do you need safeties? Because I would think that the young safeties at this point, we've seen a lot of bad safety play. They played a lot earlier on. If they were that much better, we would have seen a replacement at that point so far.
Here's why. The corners, we do recruiting with Shea in the pregame. The top-rated player in this class now is DJ Pickett with Underwood off the table. He's a corner.
It's here this weekend.
There are 2 other top corners in this class. They are probably as stacked at that position in the recruiting class as anybody. Plus, you're going to get some of the players on this team back. So I don't know that it's as big of a
and that's why I
priority
said safety.
Safety for sure.
Yeah, to me, it's safety and offensive line. I mean, if there's a freaking stud on D tackle or DN, go get him.
Pass rusher.
Yeah, I'm not overspending anywhere outside of left tackle, right tackle, and an elite safety.
Every great LSU team, almost without exception, has had a great defensive line. And those rotations that you can bring in, bring me a pass rusher. I can win a game with a pass rush. You saw that pass rush put them to bed tonight. I'll take one of those guys. I keep coming back to Deshaun Spears is on this team and played a little bit in September, and Jordan Allen was a starter at the beginning of the season, and I'm just kind of hoping there's some safety help on the current roster that just didn't pan out this year for whatever reason, but I don't know that.
No, I mean, that's to me my biggest question because you've seen P.J. Woodland. He's on the field. He's still playing at corner. You've seen the freshman linebackers come in, the freshman D-line. We haven't seen, since they made the switch before Ole Miss, the freshman and sophomore safeties.
You know what else they need? A blocking tight end.
Yeah, one of those.
Go find one of those in the portal.
Borderline's looking pretty good at it.
No, but they don't let him. They don't let him do it all that much. I'm talking about a guy,
an every down guy.
Yeah, because correct me if I'm wrong. When they go out there for spring ball, don't you think Bordelon's going out with the first group on offensive line somewhere?
You hope so. I mean, because when we've gone a lot of 12 personnel lately, our tight ends are playing receiver. They're playing in the slot all day long.
I mean, I think Bordelon's before you get to transfer portal. I mean, Bordelon's one of the top 5 offensive linemen in my head.
Yeah.
If the guys leave that I think are going to leave.
His problem, and it was his problem when we signed him. He was 260 pounds when we signed him. I think he's probably around 280. And when you're talking about a blocking tight end, the guys I played with were 265, 270. But yeah, no, that's one of the positions I'd fill out too.
280 pounds?
I would guess he's probably about 280 right now. He looks too good at 89 to be an offensive lineman right now.
Maybe he could spend the offseason snapping a football. Just a thought. Joe is in Las Vegas. Joe, welcome into the show.
Hey, guys, really enjoy your show. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I know you're not George Toma, the turf guy, but what was the deal with the turf tonight? It looked terrible. Any word on what was going on? I mean, there were some parts of the grass that were distinguishable in rectangular square fashions that look green and other parts that weren't.
3 games in 4 weeks in November is my answer. Without being
a lot of rain.
Without being a greenskeeper or anything like that. But that's my best guess. I did hear Gordy. I was listening to pregame. Not even the pregame. It was when he went out for the coin toss, talking about how firm the field was after three games in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's just my guess, Joe.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks. I
didn't pay attention to grass.
Okay. What's it?
No, but I know what he's talking about when you
played in that stadium in November. The wear and tear on it gets.
It gets, it's prettier with spray paint. That's what they're going to do. They're going to color bald spots green. They're going to make it look as good as it can. But when you put that much wear and tear on it, you got 22 guys that weigh 250 pounds plus beating each other down and cutting it up. It takes a wear and tear.
I didn't see him slipping around a lot.
No, like you want to talk about bad turf? Let's talk about when I played the Capital One game in Orlando when they played 3 games.
In the mud, yeah.
Yeah, when we were picking up squares aside and throwing it out the way while we were playing.
That one was the worst ever.
Yeah.
They had played the other bowl game in the rain, a week before?
They played a game the night before. It was like 3 games back to back within 7 days.
There was a high school game in there somewhere too.
They had the Florida State championships on the field.
Yeah. I felt bad for you guys that day.
That's the only time that I'll make an excuse that, the turf, we lost the game, but Trenton Holiday had like 3 explosive plays where he would have scored on. The turf just went out from underneath him and he fell down.
Yeah, that would be the best way to defend Trenton Holiday's speed is to put him in a quagmire, for sure. We're brought to you by Supreme Rice and SupremeRice.com. As we get into the holidays, we had some great gumbo on Thanksgiving night, and we use the parboiled rice from Supreme Rice. It's absolutely delicious, restaurant quality rice at home, firm, clean, and absolutely delicious. Support our Louisiana farmers with Supreme Rice. All of it grown, milled, and processed down in Southwest Louisiana. And, of course, they're part of the Climate Smart program that is promoting the reduction of methane emissions and promoting water conservation. So for future generations of Louisiana farmers, they can enjoy the same benefits. Pick up Supreme Rice wherever you buy rice, at all AG food stores, at Walmarts and Rouse's. You're going to save more you're going to get more for your dollar, and you're going to be supporting our Louisiana farmers at the same time. Jasmine rice, the long grain, the brown grain, the medium grain, and the new parboiled rice from Supreme Rice. For more information and great recipes, go to the website, SupremeRice.com. 499-9898 is the number to call. On the LaBerge hotline, we'll take some more of your phone calls when we return. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day. There's some nervous people watching BYU in Houston. It's a 6-point game with 8.5 minutes to go, 24-18. BYU with the lead. Big 12 championship game hangs in the balance there. Man, we had some crazy stuff happen in college football today. Flag planting is the big controversy of the day. Flag planting in Columbus, Ohio, in Gainesville, Florida. There was one other game I'm forgetting right now. The flag planting. Where do you stand on flag planting after you win a game on your opponent's field?
It's stupid. I mean, you get a good picture of it. It makes somebody feel good. If you're going to taunt somebody in the face after a loss, to me, it's just as much on the guy planting the flag as it is the guy throwing the first punch.
Well, they had words. And I said Gainesville, Tallahassee is what I.
What I was going back to is, I mean, we had the fight with Florida when they stomped on the eye of the tiger before the game.
Right.
I mean, it's very similar to that.
The Ohio State stuff led to apparently there was some pepper spray dispersed up there. So we'll see what the fallout is from that because they're already they're already investigating that. But it's like Ohio State, you had the whole game to, you want to show what a tough guy you are. You had the whole game. Why not do it then? Why wait till afterwards with the flag?
Because
play?
if I lose the game and you come throw dirt in my face, I'm going to punch you.
Okay. I
get it both ways. I saw the Michigan guy, after the game saying some people just got to learn how to lose and, be respectful about it. Okay, well, some people got to learn how to win and be respectful about it. I can go both ways on this deal.
Okay, well that's going to be the early week. That's my prediction. Is we're going to talk about flag planting.
Yeah.
Okay, because that was one of the big things today. I was really surprised that Ohio State was not able to move the ball at all. One of the uglier games of the day, really. Ohio State, Michigan, with 3 turnovers in the red zone and just an absolute mess. Texas, I thought, was the best against Texas A&M today. I thought they were the better team, and they let A&M hang around in that game way longer than they should have. And A&M had their opportunities.
You get a pick six and a block punt.
Pick six and a block punt. The first drive of the game, A&M goes down. They get a 4th and 1 inside the 25-yard line. They don't make it. You get a 4th and goal from the 1. They call timeout to call an off-tackle play that lost, I think, 4 yards there. So Texas deserved to win the game. They were better, but man, they let A&M with basically no offensive production today, or limited offensive production today, hang around in that game for a long time, to the point where I was wondering if they were going to maybe bench Marcel Reed at one point in the second half. They just did. They never could get anything going. I know it's hard to beat a team another time, but I think Georgia's just much, much better than them if both teams play at their highest level.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the Texas-Georgia game. To me, Georgia had the better players. I've watched Texas play a lot of games this year. To me, I mean, they're a good team, but I don't see anything truly special about them.
I agree. And I know Ewers was playing on a bum ankle tonight, but no, they don't overwhelm me. And they haven't had the opportunity to overwhelm anybody because of the schedule that they play. Miami gets beat. Syracuse, a big play in the game, the scoop and score from 55 yards out in the third quarter. Miami goes from being in the ACC championship game and likely being in the playoff to probably out of everything. They could get back. Tennessee pretty much put themselves in the playoff today with the win against Vanderbilt. They spotted Vanderbilt 14 points in 4 minutes.
Yeah.
They opening kickoff, Vanderbilt takes it back, and then they get a turnover, short field. They punch that in. It's 14-0 before Tennessee's buckle their chin strap, and they managed to come back and dominate really the rest of the game. So good for them. South Carolina, one of the big performances of the day. Lenora Sellers, who we liked when we saw it. If he plays in the second half against LSU, they win the game.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They almost won it anyway. They had a field goal that would have tied it late, and he made some of the biggest plays, mostly with his legs, but he made a couple of really big-time throws too. The touchdown run was a thing of beauty to beat Clemson. But Clemson gets new life because they were put into the ACC championship game with Miami's loss at Syracuse. But that was a hell of a performance by Sellers today.
Your best 3-loss SEC team right now.
The best 3-loss SEC team, or the one that
who's playing the best today?
South Carolina.
Yeah.
I think they're playing better than Alabama, and I think they're playing better than Ole Miss. Here's the problem. Alabama and Ole Miss both beat them, and Ole Miss beat them bad. So, yeah, if South Carolina were playing Alabama again, and South Carolina almost beat them.
Yeah.
They lost by 2. Sellers missed an open receiver in the end zone that would have sent it to overtime. Bummer. But if they were playing again, I'd take South Carolina. If they were playing Ole Miss again, I'd take South Carolina right now. I think they're playing as well as anybody. But they lost, okay? I'm sorry, those results still matter. I know it happened a long time ago, but if you're asking me, out of those 3 teams, who's got the edge, it's probably Alabama. With they both have a win. I know. I hate it, but the other losses to Tennessee, they've got the win over Georgia is what's really propping them up. Now, would I put them in? No, I'm not going to give credit to a team that lost to 2 500 teams.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt and Oklahoma are both 500 teams, but Ole Miss has the ugliest loss. I mean, if the Georgia wins cancel out, okay, they both beat Georgia, then who's got the ugliest loss? Ole Miss got beat at home by Kentucky, who won one SEC game the whole year.
Yeah.
I can't get past that. So if you get down to South Carolina and Alabama, do I think South Carolina's better right now? I do. But guess what? Alabama beat them. I'd much rather put a second team from the ACC in than Alabama. But if you're asking me to pick between those three teams,
the SEC was rough this year. I mean, you know, Kentucky played a lot of close games and lost all of them. I mean, they played Georgia to a one-score game. They were in a lot of games, but they never finished them. You know, everybody lost to somebody that beat somebody.
Yeah, right. And there's no. That's when we get to the dominant team. I'm looking at the second best win for Ole Miss after the Georgia game was South Carolina. So that's a 9-3 team. A comparable second win for Alabama. That might be your best argument. The second best win for Ole Miss is better than the second best win for Alabama. Alabama's second best win is South Carolina too. Ole Miss beat them worse.
Yeah.
They got a win over Missouri, but it was without their starting quarterback.
It's a crazy year.
It's close. Alabama's got two bad losses. They got two losses to 500 teams. But Ole Miss has got a loss at home to one of the worst teams in the league, the second worst team in the league.
Ole Miss versus Alabama, neutral site. Who do you think wins? I think Ole Miss.
That's close. That's really close. They have both, you know, they both really hurt themselves with subpar performances at some of the worst possible times.
Yeah.
That one to me is almost a straight coin flip right now. Which group am I going to get? We'll take a break, come back here and run down some of the numbers from tonight's game as LSU wins at 37-17. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Stat Check. Presented by Luba Workers Comp. Luba Workers Comp. Delivering genuine dependability.
Tigers with 18 first downs in the game. Oklahoma with 17. Total yards, 395 for LSU, 277 for Oklahoma. Passing yards, 285 for the Tigers, 110 for Oklahoma. Rushing yards, 110 for LSU, 167 for Oklahoma. Penalties, 1 for 5 yards for Oklahoma, 6 for 46 for LSU. Third down efficiency, Oklahoma 4 out of 12, LSU 6 out of 15. Tigers also converted both of their fourth downs. Oklahoma was 0 for 1 there. Each team turned the ball over once, and LSU with a slight edge in time of possession, 30-47 to 29-13. Individually tonight, Garrett Nussmeier, 22 of 31, 277, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, averaged just under 9 yards per attempt tonight. Jackson Arnold, 14 of 21, 110 yards, no touchdowns or picks. Caden Durham led LSU with 11 carries for 80 yards. Had that long run of 50 yards. Josh Williams, 13 for 31. Also had a big block on Aaron Anderson's kickoff return. Jackson Arnold led the way in rushing for Oklahoma, 17 carries for 75 yards. Sam Franklin with 6 for 61. Chris Hilton led LSU in receiving tonight, 85 yards on 2 catches. Both of them went for touchdowns. Kamarian Pimpton, 2 for 53. Kyron Lacey, 3 for 41 and a touchdown. And J.J. Hester, 1 catch, but it was for 50 yards for Oklahoma. Jacob Jordan caught 6 for 42 yards. Defensively, Whit Weeks with 15 tackles tonight, 9 solos, 2 tackles for loss, and a sack. Devon Keys is starting to come on, man.
Yeah.
10 tackles tonight, 4 solos. He also had a sack and another tackle for loss. Greg Penn, who disclosed after the game that he's been playing with broken ribs or a broken rib.
Yeah.
9 tackles tonight, including 1.5 tackles for loss. And Jordan Gilbert with 8 tackles, 4 solos tonight. Danny Stutzman, the all-everything linebacker for Oklahoma, 10 tackles tonight, a half a tackle for loss. And Grayson Halton with 7 tackles tonight, 5 solos, a sack, and a tackle for loss. LSU punted 3 times tonight. 44.3-yard average, divided those up, 2 for Peyton Todd, 1 for Blake Oschendorf. And Oklahoma punted 5 times for an average of 42.6, and 2 of those went inside the 20. All 3 of LSU's went inside the 20. And that is your stat check. Our full scoreboard is next. What's going on out in Provo, we'll tell you when we return. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
The Robinson Brothers Ford Lincoln College Football Scoreboard. Robinson Brothers Ford Lincoln on airline under the giant American flag.
Okay, a couple games still in progress, but BYU, the cheer you hear is coming from Ames because BYU has just punched it in to make it 30-18 over Houston with under 3 minutes to go. That holds up. Iowa State will be in the Big 12 championship game against Arizona State. Hawaii leads New Mexico. Okay, what just happened here to my screen?
28-9.
Thank you. 28-9, and I think. I see what happened here. Just moved over 28-9 midway through the third quarter. They've just gone final at Snapdragon Stadium, favorite of Jimmy out. 31-20 Air Force beats San Diego State. Everything else is final from earlier today. Number 1 Oregon finished off the only unbeaten regular season in college football, 49-21 over Washington. Dylan Gabriel threw a couple of touchdown passes. Washington, a year after playing in the national championship game, finishes 6-6 and 4-5 their inaugural season in the Big Ten. Big upset of the day, Michigan beats number 2 Ohio State 13-10. Multiple turnovers in the red zone for these teams today. Very ugly offensive football game. Big fight at the end. Police out there, pepper spray, the whole deal. Ohio State falls out of the Big Ten championship game. Number 3 Texas punched their ticket to Atlanta. They beat number 20 Texas A&M 17-7. A&M had a pick six for their only score of the game. They were twice turned away in the red zone on 4th down, one of those at the 1-yard line. Quinn Ewers threw for 218 yards and a touchdown, favoring that ankle. Number 4 Penn State, the beneficiary of Ohio State's loss. They beat Maryland 44-7, and they will face Oregon in the Big Ten championship game. Drew Allar threw for 171 yards and a touchdown. Number 5 Notre Dame was in a fight, no doubt about it, with USC today. They were tied at 14 at the half, and the final was 49-35. The Irish win it. They will be a playoff team and a host site, but they will not get a bye. They're not eligible to get a bye.
They got a pick six with USC driving to go up that 49.
The pick six was 97 yards, I believe.
Yeah.
So, number 6 Miami falls to Syracuse today, 42-38. Terrific season for Syracuse, really, at 9-3. But Miami falls out of the ACC championship game and out of the playoff, very possibly, with that loss today. Kyle McCord threw 380 yards. Ohio State, remember him? You think they're talking about him tonight in Columbus? 380 yards and 3 touchdowns. He threw for over 4,300 yards on the season, and afterwards was nice enough to put out on X, "You're welcome, Clemson." Nice touch, I thought. Number 8 Tennessee beat Vanderbilt 36-23 after falling behind 14-0 in the first 5 minutes of the game. Nico, I still can't say it. Nico threw 4 touchdown passes today. SMU, number 9 in the country, beat Cal 38-6. Kevin Jennings, a couple of touchdown passes. Mustangs finish 11-1, 8-0 in the ACC. They will play Clemson in the ACC title game. Number 10, Indiana wins the old Oaken bucket. They squeaked by Purdue 66-0. Hoosiers finish 11-1, 8-1 in Big Ten play. Kyle Rourke threw 6 touchdown passes for the Hoosiers. Best season ever. They'll be in the playoff. Number 15, South Carolina beat number 12, Clemson, 17-14. Lenora Sellers, 16 carries, 166 yards, and 2 touchdowns, including the game winner. Number 13, Alabama wins the Iron Bowl. They beat Auburn 28-14. Jalen Milroe rushed for 104 yards and 3 touchdowns. Auburn fails to get bowl eligible. Number 16, Arizona State put themselves in the Big 12 championship game with a 49-7 thumping of Arizona. Cam Skatteboo ran for 177 yards and 3 touchdowns, and Sam Levitt threw 3 touchdown passes for the Sun Devils. Number 18, Iowa State beat number 24, Kansas State 29-21. If that score holds up at BYU, Iowa State will be in the Big 12 championship game. Number 21, Missouri beat Arkansas 28-21. They played that game in the snow. winning touchdown scored by Brady Cook on a 30-yard run. Number 22, UNLV beat Nevada 38-14. Number 23, Illinois beat Northwestern 38-28. Very good season for Brett Bielema. The Illini finish at 9-3. Louisville finishes off Kentucky's season. It was a terrible year for Kentucky. Louisville beat them today 41-14. UConn beat UMass 47-42. It was Duke beating Wake Forest 23-17. Very good year for Duke. They finished the season at 9-3. Baylor put Kansas's win streak to bed. They beat them 45-17. Nice rebound for Dave Aranda's group after they lost on the Hail Mary against Colorado. They lost a game to BYU where they fell behind 3 scores like 6 minutes into the game, and then really kind of control the rest of the contest. They win 6 in a row. They are 8-4 on the season. Texas Tech beat West Virginia 52-15. UL Lafayette beat UL Monroe 37-23. Army beat UTSA 29-24. Cadets finish at 10-1 on the regular season, 8-0 in the American. They will host the American Championship game against Tulane next weekend. North Texas beat Temple 24-17. Western Michigan over Eastern Michigan 26-18. Florida International beat Middle Tennessee 35-24. Coastal Carolina over Georgia State 48-27. Troy beat Southern Miss 52-20. It was Rice over South Florida 35-28. Boston College beat Pitt 34-23. Both of those teams finished the season at 7-5. Pitt won their first 7, lost 5 in a row to finish the season. Old Dominion beat Arkansas State 40-23. It was Rutgers over Michigan State 41-14. That cost Sparty bowl eligibility. UCLA beat Fresno State 20-13. North Carolina State beats North Carolina 35-30. Both teams finished 6-6. This is the final game of the career for Mack Brown. He will not coach in North Carolina's bowl game. Northern Illinois beats Central Michigan 24-16. It was Charlotte over UAB 29-27. Florida Atlantic beat Tulsa 63-16. Western Kentucky over Jacksonville State 19-17. La Tech shut out Kennesaw State 33-7. Tech comes up 1 game short of bowl eligibility. UTEP beat New Mexico State 42-35. TCU over Cincinnati 20-13. Georgia Southern over App State 29-20. It was Wyoming over Washington State 15-14. Wazoo loses 3 straight to finish the season. Florida beat Florida State 31-11. It was Virginia Tech over Virginia's 37-17. That gets the Hokies bowl eligible. And into overtimes, Marshall beat James Madison 35-33. And down in New Orleans at the Bayou Classic, Southern wins by a score of 24-14. And Terrence Graves ends up winning both sides. Won it with Grambling and won it with Southern. First person ever to do that. And that is your college football scoreboard. Game balls are next. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Game balls. Presented by WCK Foundation Repair. WCK Foundation Repair. Support your home team. WCK Foundation Repair.
Go ahead, man, because I got all kind of people I can pick.
There's a lot of people I could pick, but I'm going with Chris Hilton. Getting the 2 deep balls tonight, 2 touchdowns, the things we've been waiting to see all year long. Been injured for the majority of the season, coming back and finishing on a good note.
Garrett Nussmeier coming off the turf, out of the tent, out of the locker room, comes back, plays tough, couple of big runs, a lot of big throws, 3 touchdowns, no picks today. Showed a lot of toughness,
no doubt.
I thought. Josh Williams, last game at Tiger Stadium for him. Man, he's done a lot of good things for the program, but I liked him hustling down on the kickoff return to throw a block, 70 yards down the field, 60 yards, and Juwan Johnson too. But I'm singling out Williams because he's the senior. Anderson doesn't score without him.
He's a guy that always, he makes the play he's supposed to make. I mean, he's a senior. He's a leader. He's a guy that goes out there and does the dirty stuff.
Devon Keys, 10 tackles, continues to come on.
Weeks, 15 tackles.
Weeks, 15 tackles. Dominic McKinley, 2 sacks, his first multi-sack game. And, like I said, you've been on the safeties case a lot. I know it was a duck, but Sage Ryan gets a pick and almost had a second one. Late.
He gets
late in
dinged
the
on
game.
dropping the second one, but made a good play.
What did you say during film study this week? It's like, man, we've been getting on the case. Let me say something nice.
Yeah.
Okay? nice job on the nice job on the pick. All right, BYU putting the finishing touches on Houston right now, trying to run the clock out, and that will put Iowa State in the Big 12 championship game. All right, we're back to wrap it up here in a moment. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Tigers win it tonight by a score of 37-17. Rich, some final thoughts about the game, about the season. There's still a bowl game to go, but 8-4. It's not what anybody wanted. It's not what was predicted at the beginning of the season by. Well, I say it wasn't predicted. Their win total was probably just a little bit higher than that. But 3 of the 4 losses, you can say a play here and a play there. Of course, you could have said that about a couple of wins too.
Yeah. For me is, the biggest question we had 2 weeks ago was how they were going to finish, how this team chemistry was, how they were going to buy in, and you're going to really tell who's bought into the program. The last 2 weeks they came out and played pretty dominant football, so it seems to me that, they're bought in and really believe in what Coach is saying.
Well, he had a lot to say after the game tonight, and he'll have a lot more to say, I'm sure. Wednesday's a big day, very big day, and then followed by the portal recruiting that comes almost immediately on top of National Signing Day. It's going to be an important month.
Busy
of
week
December.
next week.
Yeah, it is now as we've turned past midnight. December the 1st. December's a big deal.
Yeah.
Very important for Brian Kelly. But tonight was fun. Oklahoma's first trip into Tiger Stadium results in a win for the home team, 37-17. Thanks to everybody for participating. Michael Patel, for Jordan Kinchins, for Rich Dixon. I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good night. LSU 37-17 winner. This has been Eagle 98.1 Game Day.